to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, the Dream Team Glazov Gang. Our first guest, back by popular demand, Basil Hoffman, a character actor best known for his work with 9 Academy Award-winning directors, most recently starring in Rio I Love You for Paolo Sorrentino, whose film The Great Beauty just won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Films of 2013. And the one and only Anne-Marie Murrell, the National Director and Editor-in-Chief of Politichicks.tv, and out with a new blockbuster book, along with Morgan Brittany and Dr. Gina Loudon. It's What Women Really Want. Congratulations, Anne-Marie.
Thank you.
And the man, the myth, the legend, Ernie White, a civil rights activist, and he's also with OccupyTeaParty.net and a million other things. Glazov Gang 18, welcome to the Glazov Gang.
Happy to be back.
Let's do it.
Fantastic. Now,
I'm sort of happy.
Basil, is there a problem?
You know, the best thing that happened to me today was you didn't give me directions on how to get here. I was supposed to keep this private. It's not that he doesn't know how to get any place, but he speaks in this damn Russo-Canadian conglomerate speech that is impossible to understand.
A boot.
My mother's family is from Russia.
Speak it.
We never spoke Russian in the house. My father was from Canada. We never spoke Canadian in the house. What is the problem here?
Amen.
No, I apologize. Basil, that was...
Do we have to be multicultural? Can't we be unicultural?
I'm trying to learn how to pronounce
Can we
things
be
properly.
anti-cultural?
But I gave Basil the wrong directions last time. It's a long story. I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize, Basil.
Wrong direction.
Before we get to the serious issue of our time, and ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're discussing Common Core, and it's the left's new educational concept.
I'd like to do one thing, though, if I may. I got to get it off my chest because Anne-Marie is here, who's a dear friend. But I have a joke that has nothing to do with anything that's going on here. And Annie, our producer, and Anne-Marie are here, and I got to get this stupid joke off my chest. And it's pretty quick. A guy says to his wife, "Darling," he says, "how come you never let me know when you're having an orgasm?" And she says, "Because when I'm having an orgasm, I'm never near a telephone." All right, I'm done. Okay, now I'll be serious. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I apologize.
And we apologize to the viewers
You had to get it
because
out.
this is supposed to be a PG rating, the Glazov Gang. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, fantastic joke, Basil. You could have been a great stand-up comedian. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're discussing Common Core. I think the simplest way for me to introduce this is that it's the leftist educational concept which is being forced on public schools in America in the name of raising standards, but in fact, a lot of other things are actually happening. I've invited 3 experts to discuss this with us tonight. Basil Hoffman is the one that inspired me to discuss this on the show. And Basil, why don't we begin with you?
Okay, I'd like, before I get into this, I want to mention something here. No. I want to mention something, and I'd like to mention it again before we get to the end. And as the show goes on, you're going to understand why I have this to say about these publishers. There are 2 Common Core, leftist, fascist, activist publishers who publish all of this Common Core material for the schools. They are Common Core, leftist, fascist, activist publishers. One of them is Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. The web address is hmhco.com. Remember that. hmhco.com. The other Common Core leftist, fascist, activist publisher is Pearson Education, which is part of Pearson Publishing. And their URL is pearsonschool.com. And as the show progresses, you're going to understand why these two companies are so dangerous. And the reason I gave out the web addresses is because everybody should not only contact these people, but contact every politician you know, contact everybody in the streets, everybody who has an activist organization of any kind, conservative organization, and have them get out and mobilize people against this.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
Unbelievably dangerous.
Thank you, Basil. Fantastic introduction. Our viewers might be a little bit confused as to what this show is actually about if they're not that familiar with Common Core. Let's move over to Ernie very quickly and briefly introduce what's going on.
Well, what's happened here with Common Core, it's actually a new system that a lot of the states have signed on to. Right now, at least 48 states have signed on to it. And Common Core is something that was implemented by the Obama administration. All the states took some money. They took all of the stimulus money. And so once they took that stimulus money, part of that stimulus process was you had to implement Common Core. And what's really dangerous about Common Core, not just the curriculum, but the privacy, the children, the privacy of your children. This is unbelievable. The tracking devices, what we're going to do to these children from K through 12, and then into college, the tracking, the monitoring. So Common Core is just a horrible, horrible new way to train our kids, and I just can't wait to talk about it later. But that's
Ernie,
just a quick little synopsis of
Ernie,
what it is.
what do you mean tracking devices?
Well, some of the schools right now are actually putting little wristbands on your kids so that they can actually tell like what your pulse rate is. They're actually, some of the schools are putting cameras on your kids
Why?
so that they can watch your facial expression, so they can see if you like something or how you feel about something. But they're data cataloging this, they're data mining this. They're basically saving all of this information on your kids forever. And nobody knows where that information is going to go in the future. Nobody knows.
Anne-Marie.
Common Core, it's not curriculum, it's a set of standards. But it is driven by bureaucrats, and what they're calling it is educrats. That's a new name that the activists have come up with, educrats. It wasn't created by teachers or parents. It was created by bureaucrats. It was started up by a man named David Coleman, who is a very, very wealthy leftist supported by Obama, and his favorite thing in life is data collection, and that's his background basically, is data mining, and that is what this is all about, and it's actually pre-K through the workforce. What they're going to have, they're going to be able to control children. Instead of teachers just watching the overall class, they're going to be monitoring each individual child. They're going to say, Johnny learned to read in March. He started doing better. He got in trouble with the class. His parents are getting divorced. Someone, let's say from Microsoft, when Johnny's grown up, can say, well, this kid was really bright. He kind of messed up in 7th grade. His parents got divorced when he was in high school. He's a little screwed up now. I don't want him for my business. Follow the money. This is all about creating a whole army of zombies.
And they also will know our thoughts, maybe our political, religious beliefs, and if those aren't the ones we're supposed to have. Basil, why don't you take the torch and run for?
Well, I'm really concerned about the kind of education or non-education. And when you define Common Core, Jamie, you did a good job. It's a leftist educational concept. It's designed to regiment a child's mind.
Finally, I get a compliment around
to
here.
conform to acceptable thought. And common is the operative word. There is no uncommon, original, creative, innovative, or revolutionary thinking permitted by these people. And it's not how to think, but it's what to think. It's kind of like an Ivy League education without the expense. I might as well say this. I reject Common Core for reasons that should be self-evident to every conservative. Liberals, including Jeb Bush and Chris Christie favorite for the very reasons I have for opposing it. And I want to just, if I may go to one thing here. This is from Pearson Publishing. Third grade, possessive nouns. Six possessive noun questions. They're going to improve on these sentences. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 are just fine. Number 4, about the President of the United States. The statement that they make is, he makes sure the laws of the country are fair. Really? So they have corrected this to say, he makes sure the country's laws are fair, instead of making sure that the laws of the country are fair. And I wonder if they would have rewritten this to say, George W. Bush made sure that the country's laws were fair. I wonder. Number 5, the commands of government, I love this one, by the way. The commands of government officials must be obeyed by all. And they have corrected this to say government officials' commands must be obeyed by all. Now, I would change that to say government officials' commands must be obeyed by all Democrats. And I'm going to give you an example of how absurd this is and what they're trying to spring on our children. There is a government official in Covington, Louisiana, and he's the president of the city council of Covington, Louisiana, so he's a government official. So this president of the city council in Covington, Louisiana could tell Barack Obama, who is one of the all, he could tell Barack Obama to take off all of his clothes in broad daylight and walk around the White House 10 times naked. And Barack Obama would have to command, because government officials' commands must be obeyed by all. Finally, number 6, the wants of an individual are less important than the well-being of the nation. They have corrected this to say an individual wants are less important than the nation's well-being, and I would change this to say an individual Democrat's wants are less important than the nation's well-being.
Thank you very much,
but by the way, this is the kind of stuff that is foisted on third graders. This is where they start. I have another piece. I have another piece from Harcourt Publishing for second graders that is even worse than this.
Thank you, Basil. This is very troubling stuff. Ernie, you have a lot to say. Maybe let me lead in with just one example. Basil, you sent me the way they're teaching mathematics now. I think it was in grade 8. I mean, or this was just... No,
a little girl.
No, that was earlier. The grade 8, I think, was the Holocaust denial assignment that I want to get to. This was even earlier. I think, what grade was it, Anne-Marie? Do you guys remember?
I think it was like 5th grade.
Yeah, it was like 5th grade.
Yeah.
But they're teaching them addition. This is just a horrifying thing of the new way that they're teaching kids to add, and instead of just adding 3 numbers, this is what they're doing. Let me just show a quick clip.
So let's just say that's 1,000. Mm-hmm. And now we still have to do 500. Could make that into 5 sheets. And we have 60, which are just lines of 10. 1. And for her birthday, she got 1,000. 23 more. The dots represent 1.
Okay.
So now we have to add all together. So you could make 1,000. All of these together is 400. Now you need 600 more.
Yeah, this is just really mind-boggling stuff. Ernie, what do you make of this? For our viewers that want to watch that video, it's the unintended consequence of the TERC, T-E-R-C, investigation math curriculum.
Well,
Ernie.
I watched a Common Core explanation. I actually watched the kids show us Common Core, and the kids were actually trying to impress us with Common Core. What they did was they actually read a portion of a book, and they were all told to explain that book, explain what they just read. And so one person would say one thing, and they go around the circle. There were like 20 kids in the circle. This is Common Core, 20 kids in the circle. Now, if you disagreed with what was in that book, if you disagreed with what you understood and stood out, the group would pull you back in, and you had to agree with the group. Once they got group consensus, then they were able to move on, but they decided that this is what we all understand, and then they moved on. But it was group consensus. The one person that says, wait a minute, I thought it meant this. But the group said, no, 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 it means this.
Thank you, Ernie. So they're stomping out, suffocating individualism and an individual thought.
Any independent thinking
Imposing
is being snuffed
conformity
out.
and sameness. Pretty soon there will probably be like the Maoist same uniforms on everybody, etc.
And the teacher said to us that she doesn't even have to teach anymore. She said that she can stand in the corner and she mediates. She watches. She makes sure that they're participating. And that's the new training method.
Ernie, frightening, terrifying. The more I'm studying this, I see Stalinist propaganda videos, Nazi propaganda videos in the 30s, what we see happening in North Korea. I see a mutated carbon copy here. But just before we go to Anne-Marie, that new mind-boggling way to add, which I don't even get, one of my first instincts was evil. And part of that evil is when the children come home and need help with their math, somebody like me and parents, adults, don't even know what it is, and it drives a wedge between children and their parents.
Well, a lot of the parents don't even know that this is Common Core. As a matter of fact, I was one of those parents that didn't know this was Common Core. And so when my kid did come home and I was saying, hey, you have to learn math, you have to learn algebra, she actually told me, my daughter told me, not really, because we just do it in a group. I kept saying, where's your books? Where's your books? And she kept saying, we don't use books. We don't need books. And so, again, it's group consensus. And so if the group says 2 plus 2 is 5, and if you can come to a consensus and explain why it's 5 and why you believe it's 5, then it's 5.
Right, but Ernie, that mind-boggling mathematical lesson there drives a wedge between you and your children.
That's right, because you thought that you believe in one method, which is facts, and they believe in feelings.
But the left, this is the way, the left often threatened, and during the 60s, all those radical leftists, they said, we will get you through your children. And this is the way that communists and totalitarians work, by going through the children to destroy society and rob them from their parents. Anne-Marie?
Yeah, Ernie's absolutely right. Even with math, they're not using it based on fact or based on 2 plus 2 equals 4. They're saying, why is it 2? Why is that 4? Why do you think that is? How does that make you feel? Well, if you feel like it's 5, then explain why you think that. Let's talk about that. That's what they're doing. They're manipulating feelings. They're finding ways to use propaganda in every level of education, from math, from simple basic math, through history, through every aspect of children's lives. And even though they say that schools can opt out, that was the big thing. If you like your education, you can keep your education. We've heard that before. The problem with that is, like Ernie also said, that they offer waivers from No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top. And a lot of these schools throughout the United States have been suffering. They can't afford school supplies, so they need that money. So they're almost selling their souls to the devil. Now, of course, Oklahoma and Indiana so far have opted out. But eventually, it's kind of like the blob. It's like a cancer. Eventually, they're going to have to bow down to Common Core, because they're putting the standards into the ACT test and SAT. So if kids in Oklahoma and Indiana haven't grown up with the standards, they're going to be lost in the workforce when they graduate. So it's a spider web.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Glazov Gang A-Team, as we proceed here and we're running out of time, please try to be briefer in each answer because I want to touch on some questions here, and we're dealing with 3 people here. Basil, you sent me a really troubling example of Common Core. While I was studying it, I see this North Korean education almost, right? You've sent me the curriculum. You see all this strange stuff about environmentalism, and it's only skewed in one way, towards leftist thinking. And when I see evil like that, I begin to look, number one, for anti-Christianity and anti-Semitism, and we find it. Basil, you sent me, now I'm correct, I think, grade 8 assignment, tells the kids to write an assignment about what they think, whether the Holocaust happened or not.
Yes.
And they actually give readings of these Holocaust deniers, these cranks.
Without facts.
Without facts, but one of the things they had to read was that one guy was arguing that Anne Frank had faked her diary. Another one went on about the irrepressible Zionist influence and control of our country, etc. And so the kids are being introduced to Holocaust denial. And they're defending this as, it's just an exercise in critical thinking. My question is, okay, where's the assignment next of, did the Prophet Muhammad really exist? Here, read Robert Spencer's book, kiddies. This is just an exercise in critical thinking. Imagine if they gave an assignment, is Palestinians' suffering really the result of what the Arabs are actually doing to the Palestinians and what the Palestinian leadership is doing to the Palestinians and not Israelis. Great double standard here in what sensitivities can be touched on. But tell us a little bit about this Jew hatred that's entering the curriculum.
Well, it seems to be something that is endemic in the current administration, where, and we talked about this the last time I was on your show, Jamie. We talked about John Kerry's apartheid comment about Israel. Not the Palestinians, not the Arabs and their apartheid civilizations, but he picks on Israel. And I don't know what this anti-Israel bent is that they have. But yes, and we cannot debate fact, because facts are facts, except to liberals who have a way of intellectualizing everything. And facts are dangerous to these people.
Well, and Basil, they're getting at the children. If I'm pronouncing it right, I excuse my Canadianism. It's my excuse. It's the Rialto Unified School District?
Yes, correct.
Right, but now that district, is that a good pronunciation? I looked into it. It's run by Muslims. Bangladesh-born Muhammad Z. Islam is Rialto superintendent. Pakistan-born Sayeda Jaffrey serves as its director of communications. So they're overseeing this anti-Semitic curricula being given to the kids.
Well, along
Ernie?
with Bill Gates and the Bill Gates Foundation, the Bill and Linda Gates Foundation, Islam is actually a big investor in our new education system, this new Common Core education system. And they're basically being able, Islam is now able to direct how they want Islam to be projected in the system. And you're starting to see Islam grow in Common Core. You're starting to see Christianity and Judaism actually shrinking in Common Core. So again, our children, their minds are being taken over. And the parents are doing absolutely nothing. There's no riots. There's nobody's upset. There's nobody outside with signs. Again, our kids are being taken over, and nobody's doing nothing about it. Nothing. Just us. Just us.
Thank you, Ernie. Anne-Marie, your eyes are sparkling, which always means there is wisdom to be imparted.
I do want to say that there are some really great groups out there. Parent-led Reform is an amazing group of women activists. They're on top of any kind of information. And Macy France, who writes for me at Politichicks, is nationally known. She's been nominated for some of her articles on Common Core on Politichicks.tv. She also had an article about Toni Morrison's book that I want to talk to you about in a little bit. And they actually debated on Al Jazeera, they debated Macy France's article in a panel about Common Core. So, yeah, there are some really strong activists out there Hashtag parent-led reform on Twitter.
Anne-Marie, when you close your eyes and reflect
Yeah.
and you hear the word Common Core, give us a sentence. What is it really?
Communism.
Basil Hoffman, you look like you have more information to give
well,
the
I
viewers.
do, and this is off what you said earlier about Stalinist
As always,
thinking, and
right.
it's stridently anti-communist. This is from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt for second graders. This is their second grade book. One of the lessons is use less paper. People cut down many trees each year. We use the wood from trees to make things such as furniture, houses, and paper. Each person in the United States uses about 580 pounds of paper every year. Well, that's about the same weight as a gorilla. If we use less paper, we will not have to cut down so many trees. Basil Hoffman's response is, and this, by the way, is the capitalist response, and this is the common sense response. If people use less paper, the people who cut down trees, plant trees, and drive the trucks that ship the wood and the paper would lose their jobs. The people who build the trucks would lose their jobs. The people who work in the stores where the tree cutters and tree planters and truck drivers and truck builders shop for food and clothes would lose their jobs. None of those people would be able to support their families. Now here's the question I would ask the children. What can you do to help those people keep their jobs and keep planting new trees? How many new and interesting ways can you think of to use paper? Why do some people want you to use less of the products that you like to use? Who do you think would want that? Why do you think they want you to have less of the good things that other people want to provide for you?
Thank you, Basil. And
Very good.
Ernie,
Excellent.
weave within what you want to say perhaps the answer to what Basil's asking.
Well, now you're going to go into my website, which is Citizens Against Agenda 21, and that again starts to pull in Common Core. Common Core is a part of Agenda 21, and Agenda 21 is not an agenda. It's here, and it's interwoven in all your state laws, just like Common Core. One state is actually fighting, and that's Missouri, and just recently, Missouri is actually trying to pull themselves out of Common Core, and that's good. I mean, they're actually trying to strip themselves 100% out of Common Core. Indiana did pull themselves out of Common Core, but they kept all of the concepts. So Indiana is still using Common Core simply without calling it Common Core. So let's give Missouri some thumbs up there. Missouri is actually trying to fight this thing.
But, Ernie, how is this happening that, what's happening like in terms of Obamacare being imposed on the country now, just out of the blue? The children of the United States are being indoctrinated with communism and all this radical leftist ideology. How did this happen? How did we bow down so easily and allow this even to happen?
Well, in California, we have a law, AB 1266, where boys can now shower with girls in school. That's from kindergarten through high school. And no parents are out there, again, nobody's out there saying anything about it. All of the parents are just going to work, doing their thing, so no one's getting upset. So again, the country is relaxed. People, I think, feel that, hey, I'm still working, so I'll just go ahead and mind my own business. And again, boys showering with girls, that's common sense. That's not just Common Core. That's common sense that we shouldn't have that. But in California, boys can shower with girls now, AB 1266, and nobody's upset about it.
Well, just wait. I think that what's behind that, the whole transgendered agenda, they're saying that if a boy feels like a girl that day, that he becomes a girl and can just go into the bathroom.
That's right.
with girls,
So after
right?
football practice, when the football team feels like girls after football practice, yes, they should be allowed now in California to go into the girls' locker room and take a nice hot shower. It's ridiculous. This is nuts. This is nuts.
So how about
But again,
when you were a football player?
When I was a
Was
football
in high
player,
school, what?
I'm married now, and I have kids, and I have grandkids, but
Okay.
all my grandkids do know, and I told them all,
Okay.
that if I were a football player still in high school, I would always feel like a girl every day after
Okay.
practice.
Okay.
Trust me, every single day.
Okay.
And I love you, baby.
On the edge of that humor, though, horrifying
Horrifying.
in the sense of where are the fathers to protect and defend their girls that are going to
Where
school?
are the men in our country?
Anne-Marie?
I want to read a snippet of what Macy France wrote in an article. It's about Common Core is not about education. That's the name of it. She wrote, "What will government and cronies do with all this information they're collecting on your children? They'll have a virtual army of children that grow up with no content knowledge and who run highly on emotion. They'll be perfect lemmings who will never step out of line." That's what they're creating. And all this data is being made accessible to third parties, to the state government and our federal government. Your children's, all their information and your information is going to be in the hands of people that you don't want it.
Yeah, this is a scary combination of 1984 and Maoist Cultural Revolution, all that stuff, but really frightening, all happening at such a quick pace. Common Core conclusions. We begin with Basil Hoffman.
I just want to repeat the names of these two Common Core leftist, fascist, activist publishers. And now you've had a sense of it after this hour. You've had a sense of who these people are. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. HMHCO.com. HMHCO.com. The other company is Pearson Education, part of Pearson Publishing. PearsonSchool.com. PearsonSchool.com. These people are the enemies of your children and your children's education.
Basil Hoffman, when you close your eyes and reflect, and somebody says the word Common Core, a few words that come to your mind.
Obama administration.
Which equals?
All of the bad things about Common Core. This is government control, as much control as government can get over its citizenry.
And I would think that if we love America and we love the Judeo-Christian tradition and all the beautiful things that it gave us, we also know that God created man in his image and that there's such a divine beauty, the precious beauty of each individualism and individual freedom. And evil is the enemy of individual freedom. And that's what we see happening. Ernie, your wise conclusions today.
I see slavery. I see our children being enslaved. I see them being trained to be the new slave. I see them being trained to do absolutely nothing about their future. I see parents doing absolutely nothing. But on a positive note, I do believe that this country will stand up eventually, and we're going to rise up again. You're seeing it right now throughout the whole nation. We're getting tired. That's Republicans and Democrats. We're getting tired of it. And so again, you're going to see the patriots have to step up and take over.
And it is happening.
And
it's a great point, Ernie. That's a great point.
Anne-Marie, final words of wisdom.
Follow the money. There's a lot of money to be made in Common Core. That's why the Gates Foundation is involved. That's why Chris Christie and Jeb Bush are involved. There's a lot of money to be made. The same as it would be if it was a single-payer health insurance for the United States. This is single-payer education for children. There is a giant sum of money that can be made by all the curriculum of the entire United States coming out of one place, and all this information on all these children being put into corporations for whatever use they want. It's dangerous.
Thank you so much for coming to talk about this crucial subject of what's happening in terms of totalitarian forces brainwashing our children. Before we go, under 15 seconds, tell our viewers about your new book and where they can get it.
Well, that's a switch. What Women Really Want, it is on Amazon right now, pre-sale, and it's going to be in bookstores the first week of September.
What Women Really Want by Anne-Marie Murrell, Morgan Brittany, and Dr. Gina Loudon.
Yep.
Get it, and you'll find out what women really want.
That's right.
And I think that Basil and Ernie know that well, right?
I'm already married, so I know what she wants.
I'm still learning.
You're still learning?
I'm still learning.
We'll never figure it out.
Oh, we'll never figure it out?
Never figure it out.
You have to read the book.
We got to figure it out.
Then you will.
I'll
If
read
you
the
want it-
book.
okay.
Then my wife will be happy.
Okay. Basil Hoffman, Anne-Marie Murrell, Ernie White, the Glazov Gang A-Team. What an honor to have you here. Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang. Good night.